So, Mark, did you hear that the beloved Buck and Winnie statue at Harrah's Las Vegas has now been removed? It was in pretty poor shape after being touched so much over the years, and now it's just a hole in the casino floor. This is one of my favorite, quirky things in Las Vegas. Sad to see it go.
Yeah, it was a cool statue, kind of a throwback, which I had always imagined it was older. It came in the late '90s, which it just seemed like it came from a different era. So it was always cool, and it's amazing to see in those pictures how just worn it was, and the money was like disintegrating essentially, even though it wasn't, paper money. Yes, I get it, but a statue money, you wouldn't think that would happen, but so many people touched it. And Harrah's is getting updated throughout, which is something that's been needed for a while now. So out with the old, in with the new, I guess. I would imagine that they want to use that space for something they can make money off of.
Yeah, probably 2 more slot machines or something, but there were already slot machines there. I don't know. I feel like they could have spent some money to refurbish it or created something new in that vein. But it just seems like we're not going to get anything. And Vegas moves on. It's part of life, but I'm really sad to see it go.
Putting a bar in. That's my guess.
Mark, the rumor mills were swirling this past week with some rumors that Hyatt and MGM might be ending their partnership because of some phone agents who'd said that MGM would stop doing status matches. So part of this is true. It seems like MGM is actually going to stop matching status from other casino loyalty programs, but they are going to continue their Hyatt partnership, it seems like. So if you really love Hyatt and MGM and that whole partnership, you're probably good, but if you want to match from other casinos, it may be ending this summer.
Yeah, and it's always been kind of hit or miss, I feel like, casino matches with MGM. So I don't think it's a big loss if it goes away. It was a big thing to go to Atlantic City years ago and do it at Borgata because you got free play and stuff like that. And Vegas hasn't always been the best for that type of stuff. So usually it's when new hotels open up or like a Hard Rock where they're taking over and they do a good status match. So I don't think anybody's going to really miss out too much. And it's good to see Hyatt and MGM stay together, for award bookings, for earning points, for elite night credits with Hyatt, all kinds of stuff. So that's the key thing I take away, I think, is that that's staying intact.
Yeah, it's good for that. We have a lot of kind of crossover between the Miles to Memories travel and travel reward stuff and the stuff that you do on travel rewards and, the Vegas MGM stuff, because there's a lot of people who love Hyatt and love earning Hyatt nights on cheap MGM stays. So, this is a good thing, but the status matches, I feel like in casinos in general have been too generous lately, and I could see more casinos kind of pulling back as I sit here on a free cruise that I got by simply matching status in Atlantic City. So, you can definitely get some cool stuff through these status matches. I'm glad that they exist. I hope they continue to exist, but I'm not surprised when companies tighten them up a little bit, and MGM adding that free resort fee for gold. They're losing a lot of revenue off that probably with all these matched golds.
Yeah, for sure. I think that plays a role that, gold waived resort fees and a lot of people are coming over from Hyatt. And then once you get one or the other, you can kind of just match it back and forth between the two and then not have resort fees at all for, as long as this partnership stays in place, which is great for us, but definitely probably hits them below the belt a little, quite a bit.
There is one thing we don't know. When they announced this partnership about 5 years ago, it was a 1-year deal and they had only, committed to 1 year and then they extended it. We really don't know how long that contract is or whether they've extended it again. They haven't really announced any of that. But it seems like it's staying in place for now, which is good, although we know Hyatt is kind of expanding a lot in Las Vegas with Rio, kind of eventually, hopefully. They haven't really said much lately about
someday
Rio turning into Hyatt. Yeah. And the Dream Hotel also on the south end of the Strip as Hyatt bought Dream Hotels, so they will be the operator there. So Hyatt definitely expanding their presence, so we'll see how that goes forward. Now, one of the saddest things about COVID has been the loss of buffets in Las Vegas. We do have, a handful back, and most of them are gone, and the space is slowly replaced. Well, one more local casino, Green Valley Ranch, and I guess this isn't just a local casino. This is sort of a well-known resort that a lot of people do stay at from out of town. They are finally getting rid of their buffet. It's been closed since COVID, but they left the space intact, so there was a little bit of hope that maybe the buffet would come back, but walls went up. We don't know what's going to replace it yet. At Red Rock, the sister property, they replaced it with several restaurants. So this could be, a food hall concept, although they have a food court in a separate area. So maybe that's not going to happen. Maybe they're just going to put in new restaurants there. We shall see. But The hope of getting any of these closed buffets back now is pretty much zero, I would say.
Yeah, and you would think with local casinos they'd have a better shot of sticking around just because it's such a draw for people that live in the area to come in and get a cheap meal. Even if it's a loss leader, it gets them in the door, gets them gambling, keeps them loyal to your rewards program and all that. So I'm not surprised to see the strip casinos pulled away, but I'm a little bit surprised that more local based casinos are doing it as well, and it must just be like the losses were adding up to the point that it didn't make sense for them anymore. And I imagine staffing is a problem too, which with that type of thing with cooks and everything. So I don't know. It's sad to see, that's kind of Vegas of old was cheap buffets, cheap food, and we're seeing more like high-end restaurants and celebrity chefs versus just coming in and eating for 10, 15 bucks and filling your face, Feel you lost a couple $100 at the table, but you're getting a cheap dinner out of it at least.
That buffet used to be very famous back in the day for serving crab legs every night at dinner. And, they had a $15 dinner buffet back in the day. It was always a pretty good buffet. The one at Red Rock was better. And, of course, the crab legs went away quite a long time ago. But it was a beloved buffet and a really beautiful space.
Were they pre-sliced crab legs? We don't want people to get triggered when you bring that up again.
So, Mark, you ran across this on Twitter, and I had heard about it years ago because I just had a friend who worked at CAW. But it's a good reminder because I really didn't know this was going on post-COVID. So, CAW 360 is a backstage tour that happens a couple times a week at CAW. We talk about CAW a lot. You don't really like it. We both like the stage, though, and the stage is pretty incredible and sort of the backstage areas. And you can actually tour that on Tuesdays at 11 a.m., 11:30 a.m., or Saturdays at noon or 12:30 p.m. It's about a 20-minute tour. You don't need reservations. You just kind of show up in front of CAW and MGM Grand, and you get to see all the good stuff, or as you say, all the good stuff, since you don't like the show.
Yeah, I mean the stage is amazing. I enjoyed that aspect of the show. The rest of it wore on me a little bit. I got a little tired, and that could have been just, the drinking and gambling before going. But I think this is amazing. You can go check it out, see if it is something. It's kind of like a preview to the show. I know they're not actors or anything, but you get to see the stage function, how it works, how cool it is, and then you can decide if you want to spend the money to go to the full show or not. And I know I read in some of the comments, I don't know if this is still going on, but after you do the tour, if you buy a ticket to the show, they give you like a little gift and stuff. So maybe it's a way to get kind of like a discount access to the show, discounted tickets. So I think it's really cool. I definitely would check it out if I was there at that time. Midday, you're not doing a whole lot. It's not like it's party time or anything. So go grab some lunch at MGM and then hit up the tour. I think it'd be really cool.
My dad worked on EFX back in the day in that same theater, and I got to go backstage several times there. And it's an incredible theater behind the scenes. I haven't been there since the CAW days. I should go do this. But yeah, that theater is massive, and the scale of it, I mean, it has giant elevators that go way down into the bowels of the building, and a lot going on there. And I imagine it's even grander now with CAW than it was with EFX. So definitely something that people should check out. It's free, and what's free anymore in Vegas? So, take advantage
Not much
of that.
Yeah, when are they,
Exactly.
they're going to have like little parking meters at Bellagio soon where you have to put the coin in to pay. But shout out to C Note Vegas for putting this up on Twitter and sharing this. I know he's trying to do a cheap Vegas trip, which is a lot harder than it used to be. Like, take advantage of all the free stuff and the cool shows. They've been going, by the wayside one by one. So this is one that he found, and a little nugget. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll talk a little later in the show about why it might not be so cheap in Vegas with a lawsuit that was filed, but we'll save that for a little later. Area 15 officially announced their full expansion. Now, we talked about the Universal Parks portion of that a couple weeks ago, which will be a full-time haunted experience, but it's going to be much more than that. 450,000 square feet of retail, office, and residential space, venues ranging from 1,000 to 60,000 square feet. And I guess the big thing about this, or for me as an airplane nerd, is they're going to have a 747 hull somewhere. So there'll be some sort of experience with a real 747 airplane just off the 15 at Area 15. It's pretty cool. I mean, we knew they were expanding, but this is going to be a massive complex. It's going to go almost all the way up to Palace Station by the time it's done.
Yeah, maybe it's going to be like a restaurant or something. We've eaten at something like that in Colorado Springs, which was really cool. You eat inside the hull of the plane. I'm guessing they might do a little bit more than that with it, but it's always fun when you repurpose something. We see it with shipping containers a lot, and people do it with airplanes from time to time. So it's always something unique. Definitely looking forward to it. I mean, Area 15 is so Vegas, and the expansion's exciting. A lot of stuff. Like I said, though, they got to figure out how to get you around the place and figure out parking, because I think that's going to be a big problem as this growth goes. It's already, kind of gangbusters outwise, but I'm excited for all of it for sure.
Yeah, when I was watching the Planning Commission meeting, when the Universal approval came up, they keep getting parking waivers for their approvals at Area 15, so they never have enough parking per the zoning code. But their argument is that so many people come via Uber and Lyft and stuff like that, that they don't need all that parking. So they do have a parking plan, but it's less parking than the code requires. I think that this airplane is a good idea, because the one kind of complaint maybe you could have about Area 15 is it looks very warehousey, that whole area. There's not a lot of architectural interest there. They do have the sculptures on the front, but that's only when you're kind of right in front of it. But from the freeway, I feel like if they could add some more things like this to kind of draw people in, make it interesting, it's going to be a good thing. So I'm kind of excited about that. But you're right, hopefully it doesn't get even crazier to drive down there, because it's not a fun experience going in and out of their parking lot. It's just not really made for that much vehicle traffic at this point. But hopefully with this expansion, they'll fix that.
Yeah, just put it in a parking garage. Easy. Although it might take 3 years, like they are down in Arts District. You never know.
All right, so some quick sportsbook news. You sent this to me. You saw it from Mark Meltzer on Twitter. Pre-game, Caesars is limiting wagers if you're not using your Caesars reward card. So a pregame wager of $2,000 or more, or in-play wagers of $1,000 or more, they're requiring you to use your rewards card so they can track who's making the bets, which is interesting. I think maybe this has a little to do with money laundering, but we also know sports books, they don't. If you win too much at a sports book, right? If you're too good of a gambler, they will limit you and cut you down. So I feel like this is probably a way to keep people from making anonymous bets and kind of keeping control of the high rollers.
Yeah, I think for most people, it's, they always give their rewards card to earn the rewards credits and all that stuff. But for the big bettors, maybe they do want to keep it anonymous and fly under the radar a bit. So I think this will be annoying for them. And I think you nailed it. The two things that they're probably looking for is money laundering and people that are doing well, or maybe making bets for others, stuff like that, which I don't know that it matters, but something I'm sure the IRS cares and stuff like that, these gambling rings and everything. But with online sports betting, I feel like it's kind of weird. Like it's somewhat easier to make bets everywhere across the country. So it's kind of strange that they're rolling this out now, but it'd be interesting to hear for sure, like what their reason is, or what they say it is for doing this.
I used to have a buddy I worked with who had a bunch of friends in Southern California, and this is before online sports betting and everything else. So once or twice a week, he would make runs to sports books and do all the bets for them. So they would call it in, and then he would just take a percentage of any winnings, and it was their bets, so they paid for it. And he loved doing that. And so people do that. They do make bets for other people. Although, like you say, everything has changed with online sports betting. There's so many different books and apps and everything else. But it's an interesting thing. And speaking of sports books, BetFred is likely going to get approved. The Nevada Gaming Control Board recommended approval. As we're recording this, the Nevada Gaming Commission will be hearing them and probably approving them. So Virgin, after almost 2 years, they opened in March of 2021, will finally have a sports book. That area has been sitting empty this whole time.
Is that not the most Virgin thing ever, though? Did it take that long to get a sports book? And then pick a company that's been fined in the past over in the UK and stuff, doesn't have the best track record, and this is what Virgin comes up with. It just seems too funny, too perfect. They are a British company, so maybe that makes sense with the tie-in with Virgin. Yeah, they've gotten fined for violating anti-money laundering laws in the past, but they do operate in 8 U.S. states. Exactly. They do operate in 8 states in the U.S., so they are expanding here and likely to get approval. So that empty area that just kind of served as a sports bar because it has all the TVs and stuff will now officially be able to take bets. They're not taking parlays, they said yet, but they're going to consider it before the NFL season. This is their first thing. They don't have an online version yet for Nevada, but they will get to that. On one hand, this is just Virgin Sportsbook, but on the other hand, BetFred getting licensed here means probably another app, another online sportsbook, another player in that whole game too.
So I guess it's notable in that way.
And hopefully they roll out some type of new member bonus or something when they go online. I know they did this at Caesars with William Hill and stuff, where you make a cash deposit and you get a free bet or something. So hopefully there's something similar along that, and you can make a little bit of money off that even if you don't plan on using Virgin at all.
All right, and let's talk about our main story, Mark, which is kind of in line with what we talked about on our last show with prices being so high, right? A class action lawsuit was filed against MGM, Caesars, Wynn, and Treasure Island. So I think that's about 20 properties altogether in Las Vegas, saying that they colluded in fixing their hotel prices and keeping prices high and restricting supply. And they were all using this company called Rainmaker, or this algorithm that is basically designed to optimize their profits. And it's not based on supply and demand. It's based on restricting supply and keeping prices high across all of these companies. And they didn't necessarily talk to each other, but Rainmaker was using all the data from all the companies to set prices across all of their properties, or at least that's alleged in the lawsuit. This hasn't obviously been proven. The attorneys basically said, what happens in Vegas will no longer stay in Vegas. We intend to expose the under-the-table deals perpetrated by these Vegas hotels, and we intend to hold them accountable. And by incentivizing its users to suppress the supply of hotel rooms, Rainmaker artificially drove up prices and directly harmed consumers. These corporations created a scenario in which the house will always win, and they've broken the law to do so. That is the accusation. We've talked about high prices. Last year was a record for prices in Las Vegas. Several months broke the record, but overall for the year broke the record as well. So the data seems to support the high prices, but did they collude on the back end? That's the question that they'll have to answer in court.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a ton of sense. You figure if you have one company running it for all these different companies, they kind of take the prices of each other and then give out suggestions that are all going to be about the same because it's the same, the same program doing all this. So I definitely think there's something to it. That would be my guess. But you also have to look at the other side of it. People were still paying these prices. It's not like the occupancy rate was dropping. So, that maybe they were just finding the level people are still willing to pay. So I don't know. I don't know what comes of it. I'm sure there will be a settlement of some sort and nothing will change, but that's just the skeptical me.
I don't have the exact date, but I think the lawsuit is for anybody who rented a hotel room at any of these properties from some date in 2019 through today. You're not allowed to share data, and that's really what the thing is. I mean, whether the companies called each other up on the phone and said, okay, you're pricing here and you're pricing there, they all use the same company. And if they cross-contaminated that data and used it for those purposes, I could see kind of the argument. Of course, we're not lawyers and are trying to say that we understand the legality of this one way or the other, but it is an interesting argument. I'm kind of glad it's being brought up. And I wonder, this is Las Vegas, right? But where is this software being used elsewhere? What other markets is this happening? We see record hotel prices in a lot of different places. So on one hand, is this being done other places? And also, it's just another reminder that technology is making corporations more efficient in finding ways to make money and squeezing every last dollar out of you. You don't have a revenue manager who's just there kind of using their own, intuition pricing rooms. You now have computers and algorithms with tons of data, and that is where all of that comes from.
Yeah, we need the $19 rooms back, please. Thank you.
Make it rain, Rainmaker. Make it rain. $19 rooms, baby. Come on. That's our settlement, Mark. They won't give us a free room. They'll give us a $19 room one night.
I'll take it.
As part of the class action settlement. So, let us know what you guys think about any of these stories, about this big antitrust lawsuit. Do you think that collusion happened? We don't know, but it will take its place through court, and we'll see. Also, Ka, have you ever done that backstage tour? And Winnie and Buck, are you sad to see them go? Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you receive notifications of all of our videos. We have 2 videos a week, Tuesdays, Fridays. We'll be back in just a few days. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a great weekend, everybody.